Shabbat Shalom. Last week, we were honored to be addressed by Rabbi Mike Urim, who gave a beautiful sermon, and really it was truly a wonderful talk. And there was a moment in the sermon that kind of stuck with me all week, and a little bit has haunted me. And if you recall, as he was talking, he talked about, the problems that face us in our world today. And he did this sort of shorthand of, the problems that face us in our world today, and he kind of did a little, almost, yada, 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 everything's terrible, right? We all know the environment is bad, and there's political issues, and everything going on in Israel, and on the anti-Semitism, and there was just this kind of little one sentence that summed up the reason why I've had a pit in my stomach for the last year, right? And it occurred to me in this moment of listening that as he spoke and everyone knew exactly what he meant, that we are in a bit of a dark place if we have that kind of shorthand for a myriad of things that are affecting our people and the world, that it's just kind of known at this point that they're out there. And this isn't Rabbi Urim's fault, though you can tell him that I said that it was, Leroy, if you like. But this is, in fact, something that we all see, we all notice, we all face. We all ask, so, okay, what do we do? And the Torah knows that this is what's going to happen. The Torah understands this is the way that people are going to think about the world, about all the things that are wrong, all the things that we want to fix, and gives us prescriptions on what we're going to do. We're going to get to it in a moment. But there's a Hasidic rabbi known as the Maggid of Dubno, and he tells a story about an Ashkenaz and a Sephardic Jew who meet each other a couple hundred years ago. Now, I make no claims to this historical accuracy of the story, but he says that there is a Sephardic Jew comes up to an Ashkenazi Jew and says, why is it that in our lands we only have doctors in the big cities and we have very few sick people? And in your lands, every little town has 10 or 12 doctors and you have tons and tons of sick people everywhere. And doctors, I also make no claims to the medical accuracy of this story. So says the Maggid. Well, the Ashkenaz turns to the Sephardic Jew and says, that's because what you call sick is when someone is on their deathbed. When they are so ill, they can't even get out of bed, and that's when you call for the doctor, and that's what you call sick, which is why you don't think you have a lot of sick people, because the label you use is only for the severest of cases, which are, thank God, please God, few and far between. Whereas we in our lands, we have doctors involved in every bit of our lives. And they help us with colds, and they help us with cuts, and they help us with breaks, and they help us with all these different things. And so, it seems like we have more sick people, but that's because we're treating people for smaller things all the time. And you know what? It's better not only for the health of the people, but we've got all these doctors talking about the health and things. And so people who haven't cut or scraped or broken or gotten sick are listening to the doctors, and we're preventing things. So too, says the Maggid, like Israel. Other nations of the world, says the Maggid of Dubno, they have morality, and they call things immoral, and they have laws that they want to enforce, but really they only come in at the most severe and strictest moments. Only the Jews have laws for every little thing, constantly, all the time, that we're trying to enforce on people, not only so that we all live more moral lives, but so that people around us can see the amount of care and concern that we're spending trying to live a moral life, and hopefully they're going to do it as well. That's why, says the Maggid, the Torah comes in this week's Parsha and begins saying, Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'sha'arecha, right? That you need to appoint Shoftim, judges, Shotrim, some kind of enforcers in the gates of your community in order to have a long life in this land, in order to have a just society. And in this moment, I think that God, Moses, and the Torah are saying something incredibly important about human nature. Because they didn't need to say that, right? We all got the laws. Everyone was standing at Sinai. Everyone heard God's voice. Everyone got the Ten Commandments. Everyone got all the commandments. Theoretically speaking, we should just be able to take the book, take the word, go live a good, just life, have a just, wonderful society, Shabbat Shalom, time for Kiddush. But God and Moses understand that that's not going to happen. That people left to their own devices, or a community or a society left with absolutely no mechanism for adjudication or enforcement, is not going to be a just society. Therefore, God says, we need help. We need Shoftim, we need Shotrim, we need people who are going to hold us accountable. We need people who are going to help us understand the laws. We need people who are going to help enforce the laws. We need to live in a society where we as a community have given power to others in order to make sure that we live just lives. And there's something really true about that. We do live in a world where we can't do it all by ourselves, and we can't enforce justice everywhere, and we need laws, and we need Shotrim and Shoftim, whether we're talking about, me and Rabbi Cooper here, or we're talking about the laws of the community in which we live, to hold each other accountable, to make sure we live in a just society. The very next chapter gives the laws of witnessing. And witnessing works different than what we just talked about. Who's a witness according to the Torah? I'll give you a hint. It's written all over the subways of New York City. If you see something, say something. Everyone can be a witness. All you have to do is just see something, and you are now a witness. Now, we need two witnesses, which, by the way, the rabbis in the Talmud do this whole thing. Not only if I don't know you and you don't know me, if we see the same crime from within eyesight of one another, we are now witnesses who are obligated to come forth and share our testimony with the Shotrim and the Shoftim. Right? So on the one hand, yes, we outsource some of what it means to hold our community accountable to the people that we have selected to be those justices. And at the other hand, you could be walking down the street at any moment and be called on to be part of that system of justice, to be part of making sure that the world is a more just place, just by dint of the fact that you've seen something wrong. And you have to join with other people in order to get there and to do that. Because in a society that we live in, which, by the way, has many wonderful things, thank merciful heaven, but also has enough things wrong that we can just have shorthand for yada, 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 everything's terrible. We live in a society where we should be and need to be a part of seeking justice. We should be and need to be part of making sure that the people who are leading us are seeking justice. And if we look around and we see a world full of things that seem complicated or bad, and my advice to all of us is to look to the people who are trying to make the world a more just place. And they might be on different sides of an issue, but there are people trying to make the world more just, and there are people who aren't. It is trying to make the world a more just place to say that there are systems of oppression out there in our world. Sure, it is not to be violent randomly. It is trying to seek out justice to say that there are people who deserve to have self-determination in this world. It is not just to kill innocent people in order to try to get there. Seeking out justice is something that is so important that the second line after pointing justices, Shoftim and Shotrim, is tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. You shall surely seek justice in your land, with the word justice doubled twice. And the rabbis go to town on why this justice is doubled twice. Forno says it's doubled twice to remind people that justice is the attribute that is the most important when we are thinking about a society and who should run it. There's other things we care about. We care about wisdom. We care about compassion. We care about other things. Tzedek reminds us that justice And wanting justice is the most important thing. Another rabbi comes and says, no, tzedek is actually meant to be the way you seek. You want justice through justice. And trying to find justice by unjust means is no justice at all, reminds the Midrash. And that's why we get this doubling of tzedek, tirdof. And this works for our community. This is a part of our country. This is a part of our people. We need there to be those looking for justice in our world, and we need to be a part of that whenever we see injustice, wherever it might be. And it is also true for all of us personally. The Salanter Rebbe notes that this line, Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha, that you shall put in all of your gates, is weirdly phrased in the singular. It should be titen lechem. Right? You all will appoint these justices. Why does it say titen lecha? Says the Salanter Rebbe, because all of us have many different gates in our own body and selves. It's the way we act. It's the way that we talk. It's the way that we eat. It's the way that we touch. It's the way that we do. It's the way that we think. And we need to appoint, says the Salanter Rebbe, we need to appoint Shoftim v'shotrim for ourselves, officers and judges for ourselves to help govern the way that we behave in this world. And we do that in a few different ways. How do we appoint judges and officers for ourselves? Well, some of it is the Torah and the rabbis, and you should listen to us in all things, of course. And some of it is in our friends, and it's in our loved ones, and it's the people in our lives that we know can help us be the part of ourselves that we want to be, help us hold ourselves accountable to take a very important thing and use a very dumb example. When I was the captain of the ultimate Frisbee team, I told you it was a dumb example, of the ultimate Frisbee team in college, there was one person on the team who for whatever reason could always calm me down if I got angry. And so his job, if I thought that like the call was unfair or people were playing in unsportsmanlike ways and I was starting to get a little bit angry, Henry would step in and be like, Ethan, shh. And that was his role because he was my shoter in that place, right? To keep me in line. And we all have people like that in our lives. Sometimes they are the people we look up to. Sometimes they are the people that we couldn't live without. Sometimes they are morals and beliefs that we have through our books. Sometimes they're morals and beliefs that we have through our lived experience. But we need to set for ourselves these guardrails and these boundaries. And we need to set for ourselves people who will hold us accountable. And in this point, at time, when we've just had Rosh Chodesh Elul, and we go into this month of reflection, it's our job to think about who the Shotrim and Shoftim in our lives are, and how have we stacked up this year? Have we pursued justice in all of the places where we've seen injustice? Have we lived up to what the people around us need and want us to be? And how can we make amends for the ways that we haven't and promise to do better in the year ahead? Because as people, as individuals, we have to guard ourselves to make sure that we pursue justice so that as a community, we can protect ourselves and make sure that we are a community of justice so that we as a nation can be a nation of people and leaders seeking justice. Shabbat Shalom.